Hey, good morning. It's Uncle Lou here. Yeah, that's right. It's me, Uncle Lou, live for you on LouTube today. And thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Also, and back to the college football previews today. Less than 50 days away now from the start of college football. Give this video a thumbs up if you're tired of the off season and ready to finally start watching some football. Today's preview video comes to you courtesy of Patreon member Zeth. Yeah, Zeth, Z-E-T-H, Zeth T. Thank you, Zeth, for supporting the Uncle Lou channel over on the Patreon page. Of course, all Patreon members get to pick any two teams they want, and I'm doing all those previews first before I move on to the other previews that I want to do, or suggestions from the comment section here on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or whatever. If you want to join the Uncle Lou Patreon page, click the first link in the description of this video or any video I've uploaded over the last month or so, and join us over on the Patreon page. We give a jersey away every single month. All Patreon members, you get you a shout out from Uncle Lou. You can get you get a LouTube t-shirt. What else? Private video once a month, live Q&A for all the Patreon members. Anyway, the main thing is, if you just like what you see here on the Uncle Lou channel, you want to help support the channel, go on over to the Patreon page and look around. I would really appreciate it. All right, I've wasted just about enough time. Subscribe to this video if you're not already. I post college football, or subscribe to this channel if you're not already. I post college football videos almost every single day of the year, and I'm almost at 10,000 subscribers. I really want to get there by the start of the season, so we got, like I said, just under 50 days to get there. Share this video with a friend, thumbs up it, post it on your Facebook or your Twitter, whatever. If we can get to 10,000 subscribers before the season starts, that would be amazing, and who knows, I might do something crazy if we make it. But anyway, that's enough wasting time. Let's get right into today's preview video. Let's go.
Clutching like a cornerstone, otherwise it all comes down. Justify denials and grip 'em to the lonesome man. Saturn ascends, comes round again.
All right, here we go. Nebraska Cornhuskers 2018. First off, let me say this. I don't have any hard feelings towards Nebraska, the Cornhuskers. No hard feelings at all. I don't feel about them any certain way. I don't love them. I don't hate them. I'm just sort of indifferent to them. To the Nebraska fans that are watching this video, if you're new around here, I do a lot of trash talking on this channel, but on these preview videos, I try to do it as straight-laced as I can. I try to make it an unbiased and objective opinion on how I feel like Nebraska might do in 2018. Please don't shoot the messenger. It looks like probably another rough year for Nebraska. All right, let's wrap up 2017. How did Nebraska do last year? Not good. What were they? 4-8, I think they finished. Did you guys really lose to Northern Illinois?
What is that?
I don't know. I didn't even know they had a team. You beat regular Illinois, didn't you? But then you lost to Northern Illinois. Makes no sense. I think you broke a record on the amount of times you gave up 50 points in a game. I mean, I wrote down the amount of points you gave up here in each game. 36, 42, 21, 17, 6. Whee! But that was to Illinois. What are they, the Fighting Illini? Is that racist against Indians? I don't know. 38 points, 56 points, 24 points, 31 points, 54 points, 56 points, 56 points. You gave up 56 points 3 times. The black shirts. I mean, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. Obviously, last year was a total disappointment for Nebraska. Fired your coach. You bring in the hometown hero, right? Scott Frost out of Central Florida. Guided Central Florida to an undefeated season last year in a fake national championship, beating the War Tigers, Auburn, in a meaningless New Year's Day morning kickoff bowl. Whatever it was, I don't know. Scott Frost. Scott Frost is a great coach, okay? A great coach. No, that's Jack Frost. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that one. Scott Frost. Look, a great coach. Listen, if you're a Nebraska fan, you have to think about Nebraska football right now as a stock. okay? And it's a long-term investment because there's not likely to be much, if any, immediate return on this investment, okay? Generally what you want to do with stock, right? Buy low, sell high. Buy and hold is what you want to do with Nebraska right now. Your stock is in the toilet. I'm a believer in Scott Frost, but like I said, this isn't going to be an immediate return situation. This is going to be a work in progress over the course of several years. To Alabama fans that are watching, don't worry about all that stuff I just said about the stock market. It definitely doesn't apply to you in any way. Yeah. So anyway, Scott Frost comes in, brings a lot of his staff from over from Central Florida, but you're really a mess there. Quarterback, I don't really know what you're going to do there. It looks like it's down to either a redshirt freshman or a true freshman. Gebbia, I'm never going to say these names right. Gebbia, a redshirt freshman. Martinez, true freshman. Probably the more talented of the two. We'll see. I have a feeling that's who it'll be. But we're on a wait and see type of thing for that. Now, some good news for Oklahoma. If you can get a quarterback that can throw the ball, you've got some wide receivers that can make some plays. This wide receiver you had last year, Morgan, he set school records for yards in a season. I think he had 10 touchdown passes. I mean, in a season that was really a throwaway, in a 4-8 season, he was definitely a bright spot on your team. You bring him back. You have a second guy, too, whose name escapes me now. That's a good compliment to him, too. So you've got some pretty good wide receivers. Now, your running game, non-existent. I mean, you got to do a whole lot better there. The offensive line needs some work. Long-term investment here if you're a Nebraska fan. The defense, we already mentioned, gave up 50-something points or more 4 times last year. Unacceptable. You got to do better on defense than that. You do bring the DC from Central Florida. Did pretty good down there. Again, the competition, nowhere near what he's going to see in the Big Ten. You ranked at or near the bottom in every single defensive category in the Big Ten last year. So nowhere to go but up on the defensive side of the ball. Offensive-wise, some new quarterbacks, experienced, talented receivers to work with. We'll see how it all comes together for you this year. Now, I'm going to go ahead and throw Nebraska's schedule up on the screen for you guys to look at. You know the routine by now. I write the schedule down, home and away. No way I can remember all these teams' home and away schedule, so yes, I write them down. We're going to go through this list of games. The games that I think are automatic wins or automatic losses, I'm not going to spend much time on those games. I'm going to tell you who you're playing. If it's an automatic win, I won't say that much about it. I'll move on to the next one. Same thing. If it's an automatic loss, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it. I'll have a group of games here that I consider to be toss-up games, games that could go either way. We'll come back to all those games at the end of this video and go into some more detail in those and then try to come up with a final record for you at the end of the year. Now, what does a guaranteed win mean to me? That means you should be able to line up and win these games regardless of who your coach is, whether you've got a couple of injuries, no matter how bad you were last year. You're Nebraska. These games that I have as guaranteed wins, you should be able to win those games without a problem. The games I have as guaranteed losses, I look at it and I say, well, the team you're playing is just way more talented than you, or they have a way better coach than you, or you have to play them on the road, whatever. So that's sort of the criteria I look for with guaranteed wins and losses. Toss-ups we'll get into at the end. So here we go. Week 1, you open up at home. 3 home games to start the season, which is huge when you're coming off of a disappointing season, new head coach, lots of new faces on the offensive side of the ball. You're going to have a friendly crowd here 3 weeks in a row to help get you rolling into the meat of your schedule when you start facing some of these Big Ten teams. So I think this is huge for Nebraska to have these 3 games at home against these 3 opponents, Akron, Colorado, and Troy. Not going to drag this out. You should beat all 3 of those teams relatively easily. Now, Colorado is a Power 5 team. They did win their division 2 seasons ago in 2016, so you're thinking, well, they must be pretty good. No, that was a fluke. Colorado has been at or near the bottom of their division every single year since they joined the Pac-12, except for that 1 year in 2016. And last year, they went right back to being the worst team in the division. I think they were 5-7 last year. So, Scott Frost, he's a hell of a coach. Like I said, not a lot to work with at Nebraska right now. I think Nebraska should win this game at home against Colorado. This is one of those games that had you kept last year's coach, maybe this is a 50-50 game that you could lose. Scott Frost has got to be worth something. Even though the talent's not there and he needs a few recruiting classes to get his players in, Scott Frost has got to be worth something, and in my mind, he's worth one win right here at least in the Colorado game. So you start off 3-0 against Akron, Colorado, and Troy. That's about it for the good news. Week 4, you start your Big Ten schedule on the road at Michigan. Michigan, one of the best defensive teams in the country over the last couple of years, have been hurting on offense due to really poor quarterback play, some turnover at the offensive coordinator position, sort of a handful of things there. They bring Shea Patterson in, Michigan does. Jim McElwain comes up to help out with the offense after getting fired from the swamp down in Florida. If you've seen my Michigan preview, which if you haven't, I'll put a link up somewhere for you to check it out if you want to. You already know I'm high on Michigan this year, and you already know I gave Michigan a win in this game, so I'm sorry, Nebraska, I have you down for a loss week 4 at the Big House. I just feel like Michigan's a better team. Harbaugh, although I give him a hard time, he's an above-average coach. You can argue whether he's elite or not. I don't think he is, but he's definitely above average. Scott Frost, first year in the Big Ten, I don't see you winning this game at Michigan. I'm sorry. Week 5, home game at Purdue. This is a tough one because I like Purdue's coach too. Who is it? Brom. Of course, he was one of the 19 people that turned down the Tennessee job last year. Don't blame you, sir. Yeah, it's a mess there. And he thought Nebraska, hey, Nebraska fans, don't worry. You think it's bad there. You should see what's going on in Knoxville. Anyway, you play them at home, Purdue. Purdue, a pretty good team. I would argue that Purdue may be a little bit better of a team right now than Nebraska. Record has indicated that. You do get them at home. Scott Frost, first year. Brom, second year. Really a battle of two young, up-and-coming coaches here. I have this as a toss-up. I could see this game going either way. At the end of this video, I'll come back and give you a winner or a loser on that one. All right, then you go on the road and take on Wisconsin. Sorry, loss. Wisconsin, an elite team last year. They returned like 18 or 19 starters. They've got one of the best, if not the best, running backs in all of America in Jonathan Taylor. They have an NFL offensive line. They returned their quarterback, Hornibrook. He's not going to be throwing for 400 yards a game and lighting it up through the air, but he's experienced, and he doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes. That offense is going to be scary good, especially on the ground. Defensive-wise, they're good enough to beat most teams they play. Wisconsin 12-0 last year before losing in the Big Ten title game. Could see a similar situation unfold for them this year. Probably get to a Wisconsin preview at some point. But anyway, obviously, I don't see you winning at Camp Randall. Too much jump around. I got to give you a loss there at Whiskey. All right, that takes you into your second half of the schedule. Another road game. So back-to-back road games. You lost at Wisconsin. You go on the road at Northwestern. Northwestern, another team that is better, I think, than people outside of the Big Ten actually realize. I think most people outside of the Big Ten look at Northwestern and just assume they're a 4 or 5 win team every year. That's not necessarily the case. Another coach that I happen to like up there at Northwestern, his name escapes me now, is it Fitzgerald? Anyway, I like this coach Northwestern has. You have to play him on the road, always tricky. Talent-wise, Nebraska's got to be close to Northwestern in talent. I mean, I know things have fallen off at Nebraska, but you'd be hard-pressed to convince me that from top to bottom on the roster, Northwestern is more talented than Nebraska. I just would find that hard to believe. I list this game as a toss-up. I will pick a winner on this one for you at the end of this video. Then you come home, you play Minnesota. I'm sorry, I have this as a toss-up game, and everybody watching is going to be thinking, how can Nebraska-Minnesota, under any scenario, be a toss-up game? Well, in case anybody was asleep at the wheel, last season, Minnesota was one of the teams that put 50-something points on Nebraska. They beat Nebraska 54-21, I believe, was the score on that one. So it's hard for me to just assume Nebraska's going to turn around this year and beat a Minnesota team, even though it's at home, that hung 54 points on you last year and beat you by, 33 points last year. So I have this as a toss-up. This is another game, though, similar to Colorado, where you could think, okay, this is going to be the Scott Frost effect. Maybe just having Scott Frost as a coach is enough to win that game. I'll come back at the end, of course, and give you a win or a loss on that one. Next week on the road at Ohio State. I'm no Ohio State fan. I'm no Urban Meyer fan. They're going to beat you silly. I'm sorry, they're loaded. They're stupid talented. You have to play them there. Urban Meyer, this ain't his first rodeo in the Big Ten like it is Scott Frost. Welcome to the Big Ten, Scott Frost. At Michigan, at Wisconsin, at Ohio State. I don't know if there. I'll go ahead and say it. I don't think there's a team in America that could win all three of those games. At Michigan, at Wisconsin, at Ohio State. I don't think Clemson could win all three of those. I don't think Alabama, Georgia, Oklahoma, Southern Cal, whatever team you want. I don't think there's anybody in America that could win those three road games in the same season, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Ohio State. So it's not really an insult to Nebraska that I have you losing all three of those, including this one here at Ohio State, okay? Now, your last three games of the season is going to be make or break, in my opinion. I think you've got to win two of these three games. I have you down as a win over Illinois. That was probably your most impressive win last year. And that you won that game 28-6. You'll beat Illinois again. Illinois, not a good team. They're worse than you. Let's just be realistic. The difference is they don't have the expectations at Illinois that they have at Nebraska. You got to find a way to win this game. You can't bring Scott Frost in after what he did at Central Florida, pay him all that money, give him complete control over everything like you did, and then send him out to lose to Illinois. You'll win this game. All right, next to your last game, last home game of the year, home against Michigan State, a 10-win team last year, returning a lot of talent this year. Some people's dark horse even to win the Big Ten. I'm not so sure on that. I'll probably do a Michigan State preview at some point, but I do have you down as a loss in that game. I just think they're a way better team right now. D'Antonio, another above-average coach. Not sure I'd put him in the elite category. Did make the playoffs one year. Got shut out. Yeah, it's the Big Ten way. So I just don't see you winning that game. I think you drop that one at home to Michigan State. And then your last game of the year at Iowa. I'm giving Nebraska the benefit of the doubt here and listing this as a toss-up game. I would be within my rights to just mark that down as an L. I'm trying to look at the glass half full here. I gave you a toss-up there, and I'll say some more on that game here in a second. So let's review. Games I think you should win this year without a problem no matter what. Akron, Colorado, Troy, Illinois. 4. That was your win total last year, 4. So basically, you won all the games, those games last year that you were supposed to win. You didn't win a single game outside of that. Can you do better this year with some of these toss-ups? Now, the automatic losses, again, at Michigan, at Wisconsin, at Ohio State, and home against Michigan State. So 4 guaranteed wins, 4 guaranteed losses, 4 games I consider to be toss-ups. That tells me the ceiling for Nebraska, if everything went right and you had a remarkable year, would be 8-4. The basement would be 4-8. Now, if you go 4-8, I think you would have to consider this season a disappointment. You cannot bring Scott Frost in, pay him the kind of money you're paying him, and repeat the same pitiful performance you put out on the field last year and win 4 games. So you have got to win some of these toss-up games. Now let's go through them again and see which ones realistically you might have a chance to win. The first toss-up game we had on the schedule was home against Purdue. I like their coach. They've got some returning talent on the offensive side of the ball. You do play them at home. This is a true toss-up game to me that I feel like could go either way. I've got to pick a winner or a loser for these videos, though. I think Purdue beats you. I think you drop that game. So that puts you at 3-2. You win your first 3, lose at Michigan, lose at home to Purdue. Of course, Wisconsin was a loss, so 3-3. At Northwestern, I have you as a win. I just refuse to believe that Northwestern is a talented enough team to even be on the same field with a Nebraska, regardless of what the records were last year or regardless of what's happened in this series in years past. I think Scott Frost is the difference, and you go on the road and win at Northwestern. Now, I could easily see it going the other way around. I mean, maybe you beat Purdue at home and lose on the road at Northwestern. But I'm going to give you the loss at Purdue and the win at Northwestern, okay? Minnesota, I think you beat them. Again, a terrible team. I don't know what happened last year, 54-21 against Minnesota. There's probably been some seasons where Minnesota hasn't scored 54 points. I'm just going to assume that game was an outlier, a fluke. Again, just like with Northwestern, the Jimmies and the Joes, you have to have better players than Minnesota. I mean, I just refuse to believe that you don't. So again, Scott Frost comes in with all this hype. You got to be beating teams named Minnesota. I give you a win there. And the last one of the year at Iowa, sorry, loss. You gave up 56 to them last year. Of course, Iowa put 56 on some other teams too. Well, one other team. Who was that? Ohio State, though. Anywho, so you lose to Ohio State. To Iowa. They're a better team. I like their coach too. The Big Ten's got some pretty good coaches. Kirk Ferentz, an underrated coach. He does. I believe Ferentz is one of these coaches, kind of like David Shaw at Stanford, who gets the absolute most out of the talent that he has. And let's be real, Iowa's not loaded with talent, but Ferentz is able to just get every last drop of talent and effort out of his players and team every single year. I think you lose that game on the road at Iowa. So what does that put you for the season? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 6. Is that right? Let's see. Win, 5 win. Yeah, 6 and 6. Now, if Nebraska fans are not happy with a 6 and 6 record in 2018 and going bowling after the disasters that you've had there, let's look. I'm gonna be honest with you. Nebraska has fallen to the point people just don't consider them an elite team anymore, or even an elite program. People don't look at Nebraska, and you can argue with me if you want to. I watch a ton of college football. I talk to college football fans year-round from all over the country, and I'm telling you right now, your average fan outside of Nebraska does not consider Nebraska to be an elite team or an elite program right now. You guys, it's not the we had one bad year thing, okay? 6 and 6, in my opinion, would be a good first year for Scott Frost. You got to remember, yes, Scott Frost went undefeated at UCF, turned them around in, 2 years. He inherited a winless team, takes them undefeated 2 years later. I like Scott Frost. I think he's a good coach. You do not have the style of player at Nebraska right now that Scott Frost wants, for mostly. There will be a few, but mostly you don't have the type of player that Scott Frost wants. And Scott Frost, as good as he is, and as much as I like him, he's going to have an adjustment from a Central Florida schedule to a Big Ten schedule. I mean, at Iowa, at Michigan, at Wisconsin, at Ohio State. I mean, it's not even fair. It's just not fair. But anyway, that's my official prediction for Nebraska for 2018. I think you guys finish 6 and 6 and go bowling. Nebraska fans might not be doing cartwheels over 6 and 6, but I think if you polled Nebraska fans, the majority, if they were being honest and real, would say that 6 and 6 would have to be considered at least a step in the right direction for the first year under new head coach Scott Frost. All right, that's it. Again, if you're a Nebraska fan and you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. I'd appreciate it. Subscribe to Uncle Lou if you're not already. We've got college football team-by-team previews coming out every single day between now and the official start of college football season next month. So I'll see you guys tomorrow with the next video. And until then, as usual, please have a great morning.